Hello friends, welcome back. So now we will start Spring tutorials. The course of Spring we will start. So before to start Spring, we will see the introduction of Spring. What is Spring and why we need Spring in our Java applications. So Spring is what is Spring? A Spring framework. Spring is a framework. We can say Spring is a framework and it is an open source Java application development framework. Spring is an open source Java application development framework that supports developing of all types of application such as enterprise application, web application, cloud based application and many more. Even standalone application also we can create using Spring with very minimal configuration, and rapidly we can get start our application. Means a lot of codings we no need to do, like creating the object, initializing the object. All these processes is handled by Spring framework only. So that is a Spring framework is an open source Java application development framework that can be used to develop any kind of Java application like standalone, web, database driven, enterprise application, etc., and that is created by Rod Johnson. The objective of Spring framework is to reduce the code complexity. If we will not use Spring, we have to write lot of code, and that code will be very complex. So to reduce that complexity, generally developers are using Spring framework. Also available under Spring umbrella to develop any kind of application such as mobile application. Also, if you want to develop cloud based application, batch applications, that is also available, that also we can develop. Spring helps in developing loosely coupled application also. So what is loosely coupled applications? The code that is not dependent on another code, that is called loosely coupled application. Easy testable, easily we can test. Reusable, the components of Spring are reusable and maintainable. And module of a Spring are just jar only, dependency, they are very less in size and can be chosen as per the requirement. Spring is not giving in single jar, or it is not coming with a single you can say in single framework. It has a lot of jars, lot of different type of frameworks and utilities that as per our requirement we can add those. The fundamental module of the framework is a core container. Core container provides the core functionality on which all Spring modules or projects are based. So from here what we can conclude? We can conclude a Spring is an open source Java application development framework that can be used to develop any application such as standalone, web, database driven, enterprise application, mobile application, cloud based application, batch application and many more. Spring also helps to developing loosely coupled application which are simple, easy testable, reusable and maintainable, and it comes with different jars that can be chosen as per the requirement. We will see all these type of different module of Spring in upcoming courses. The fundamental module of framework is a core container that we need to get started, and core container provide the core functionality on which all other Spring modules or project are based. So this is all about the Spring framework. Now we will see some of the features of Spring Framework. First features that is very useful: lightweight. It is not taking very much of your size of your libraries. It's very lightweight. Spring jars are very small in size, that's why it is a lightweight. Loosely coupled, how? Using dependency injection and aspect oriented programming. What is dependency injection and aspect oriented programming? We will see in upcoming session. So Spring provides loosely coupled application development module with the help of dependency injection and aspect oriented programming. Non-invasive. What is the meaning of non-invasive? Developed using just Pozo, no need to inherit any predefined classes. That is non-invasive. Like, it's not like that you have to develop Spring Framework, then you have to inherit some of the other classes, or you have to implement some of the interfaces like that. It's not like that. It is just developed just with simple Pojo classes, plain object Java. No need to inherit a predefined classes, plain object Java. Okay, and this has an inverse of control. Inverse of control is what? That is used to achieve the dependency injection. Take care the life cycle of application object along with their dependency. This also has an AOP, aspect oriented programming feature, that helps to separate the supporting function concerns such as logging, transaction security, or all core business logic of an application. Spring container take care the object creation, initialization, managing object and dependency. These all tasks are taken care by Spring Framework only. So these are the features of a Spring Framework: lightweight, loosely coupled application, non-invasive, inverse of control, aspect oriented programming, and Spring container is just a container that will take care of the creation. This is not feature. This is a part of your Spring Framework. Spring Framework has a Spring container that take care the object creation, initialization, and managing object dependency. Okay, so first we will start with inverse of control. What is inverse of control? And along with these features, Spring also has some other features like Spring MVC is also there. That is a very rich support to develop any web application, including with MVC model. You can take a HTML or JSP, and backend side you can use Hibernate or JPA, any of the persistence API. So Spring also has a Spring MVC. It also has a REST APIs, Spring REST API. Spring is also providing some security features. Spring, so lot of other features are also there of a Spring Framework. So we will see all those features in our upcoming sessions. So these are the just major Spring Framework features that we are highlighting here. Okay, next we will see first Spring IOC, inverse of control. So what is inverse of control? Inverse of control is what? IOC means inverse of control that manages the life cycle of the application object. What is application object? In our application, in our Java application, we create classes, and classes has fields. Like if you take the example of this person class, so this person class has a person name, date of birth, mobile number, address, and this address is another one class that has a locality, city, state, district, country, pin code, etc. So in what is the use of inverse of control? Inverse of control manages the life cycle of application object, like person object we will create. Then who will create the object? Who is responsible to create the object? If we are not using Spring framework, we only have to create the object of this person and address. We only have to create the object of this person class for this person and address. We only have to create, and we have to initialize also. Suppose when we will create the person class, we need this person name ABC. We have to pass this date of birth, we have to pass mobile number, and we have to create another object of address class, and that address class field also we have to initialize with locality, city, state, district, country, pin code, and that reference we have to initialize with address field. So all this task we have to do, and once we have used this person and address object, we have to destroy them. But anyway, destroy and garbage collecting, that is done by JVM itself only. But before to that, we have to create the object, we have to we have to initialize them, and we have to use them if we are not using Spring framework. So is there any possibility that anyone can do these tasks for us? So Spring is doing that task for us with the help of Spring IOC. So it is like a similar, you are thinking I need an object, and you just say to Spring framework, yes, please give me this object. So your Spring will automatically create the object, initialize the dependency, and it will give you. So that is Spring IOC. So the definition of IOC, inverse of control, is a process of creating the object, initializing the object, and destroying the object. So that is called inverse of control, and that manage the life cycle of the application object. And IOC implementation provided by dependency injection. Now what is dependency injection? So before to dependency injection, we need to know what is dependency. What is dependency? So if you see this person class has 4 fields: person name, date of birth, mobile number, and address. These 4 field person has. So these 4 field is called dependency. If we have to create the object of person, then we need these 4 fields. We need the value for these 4 fields. So that is dependency. So what is the definition of dependency? The fields of the class called dependency. The fields of the class called dependency, or only the reference variable, not the static. Static variable will be the part of a class itself, but the reference variable will be the part of your object. So that is the object dependency. So the fields of the class, or the fields, the reference variable of the class called dependency, and the initialization process of the dependency is called dependency injection. The initialization. Suppose if we have to create the person object, then how we will create? We will create person is equal to new person, and we will set the value like person dot set name, person dot set date of birth, person dot set mobile number. Like that we will do. Like that we will do only. And then we are creating the object, we are initializing the value. So all these things we are doing. So that is called dependency injection. Inverse of control is manages the life cycle of object with the help of dependency injection. That's it. And the life cycle of object is similar: creating, initializing, destroying. That's all. So that is inverse of control. Now once that this object is created, now we we know who will create the object. This object will be created by Spring. We will not create the object. Object will create the Spring. We will give the configuration only. Okay, so where that object will be stored, where that your Spring will keep those objects, that object will kept under container. What is container? Spring IOC container. Which container? Spring IOC container. The Spring IOC container manages the bean of the Spring application. There are two types of Spring container. One is bean factory, another one is application context. Bean factory is a basic with features of instantiating, configure and manage the bean, when the object will be created, what is the configuration for that one, where that bean will be stored. So that in all is doing with the help of bean factory. What is bean here? Bean is nothing but the object, each object in Spring application called bean only. We will see this one. That's why the Spring container manage the bean. It is saying bean. What is bean here? Bean is nothing but the object of a class. That is a bean only. If I create here person object, person is person, P is equal to new person, it means that is a one object. But in Spring application, we will not call that an object. We will call that as a bean. That is a bean. So that is the bean. That's why we have create. I have given in the bracket object. So the Spring container manages the bean or object of a Spring application with the help of container. And there are two types of container. One is bean factory. That's why the name is suggested here, bean factory. Bean means object factory. Bean is object only, but they are giving name as a bean in Spring application. Bean factory, basic container with the feature of instantiation, configure and manage the bean. It is available under org.springframework bean.factory.bean factory. Application context is another one. Application context is inherit the bean factory. We can say that this is a subtype of application context. Subtype of bean factory. Application context is also a container, but that is the subtype of bean factory, or it inherit the feature of bean factory, and it is providing some extra feature and provide enterprise application support such as validation and internationalization. And it is available under org.springframework.context.application context. Okay, here we have given the difference between bean factory and application context. So what is bean factory? We have already seen it's a basic container. So the difference is annotation based dependency injection is not supported. We will see what is annotation based dependency injection. So in Spring we can configure our beans in two ways. One is using XML configuration, another one is using annotation configuration or Java configuration. We will see those. So bean factory is not supported annotation based dependency injection. Annotation based dependency injection is supported by application context. Bean factory does not support enterprise services, but application context support enterprise services such as validation and internationalization. We will see this one. Default support is lazy loading. What is lazy loading? We will see this one. Object will be created. When object will be created, that is eagerly or lazily. That is an approach of creating the object. One, I will create the object when someone asks. Another thing I can do, I will create the object and keep with me, and when someone asks, I will give. Two approaches are there. One approach, I will not create the object. I will create object when someone will ask, then only I will create the object. This is the one approach, that is called lazy loading. And other one is I already created an object and I kept with me, and someone asked and I directly given, so that is a eager loading. So so being by default support is a lazy loading, but application context default support is eager loading. Beans are instantiated during the load time. We will see this one. So here are the two dependency that we need to get started. We need, because Spring Core here, as we have already seen, core container provide the core functionality on which all other Spring modules or project are based. So the minimal requirement, core container we need to get started with Spring framework. So these two are the Spring Core and Spring Context are the core container, or the core container only. So we need to add these two dependency in our pom.xml, and we have to get started. This version we can change, it means that we can take a latest version. Okay, but sometime what will happen, if we take the latest version, we also have to install latest JDK, whatever the latest JDK is there, because the all because this jar is compiled with, will be compiled with the latest JDK, latest JRE. They have developed on latest JRE or JDK they have used. So that's why we need to install latest. If we are not using latest one, we are using Java 11, 14, 15, 16, then we have to give this 5.3.25 version, or you can take a latest, that is up to your choice. You have to install the latest JDK, that's fine. Okay. So these two are the Spring Core container. Spring Core container we need to add in our Spring in our Maven application. We have to create a Maven application in our STS or in our Eclipse or whatever the IDE you are using. We will use STS only. So these two we have to add, and we will see an example in our next session. So I hope you like this session. Please subscribe my channel, and we will see you in the next session. Till that, bye bye and thanks for watching.